Welcome to Funky's World. I'm going to show you a project I have been working on nightly. Let me sit. I'm trying to bring my feet up here. My entire body hurts. So I'm not working out today because my entire body hurts. Okay. What I've been doing is using a notebook, going through my obituaries book, which you can see is huge, and finding information in obituaries. Now, what information can you find? Well, let me tell you. This one's okay. 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 Okay, it doesn't say. Oh, daughter of E. Lucille Thibodeau. And a Metcalf. I'm trying to find one that I know well so that I can. Here we go. This is Aunt Maud. This one came out in landscape. Okay. This is my mother's Aunt Maud. Okay. This is actually, it's my grandmother's aunt. Not my mother's aunt. It's for whom my mother's aunt was named. I knew it wasn't her, but I was thinking, because she's called Aunt Maud, that she was Aunt Maud, but she's actually Great Aunt Maud. What you can find in an obituary, okay? It's a middle name, which can be helpful in some cultures. The age at which they died, when they died, of course, date of birth, where they died, where they're buried, to whom they were married, who their children were. Sometimes you can find who predeceased them. In this case, they did not include that. It says she's made her home in Boston the past 2 years. I don't know why they call that Boston. She was in Newburyport, which is not Boston. In 1912, she married Uncle Bert. You can even get that. Stepchildren, everything. And in this case, her stepchildren are still whole cousins to my grandmother because she was her mother's sister and her husband was her father's brother. So those are still first cousins, even though they're her stepchildren. So that's all things that you can learn and what you might want to write down. In this case, I don't need to because I already know the people. But like if I was looking at Irene Cox, this is Cecil Cox's daughter. I really don't need a lot of information there. But here's Hugh Cox, okay, Jr. M. Drusilla Cox was his wife. He was 89 years old. He lived in Abington, Massachusetts. He died on May 13th. (2014). Okay. He had children, Richard of North Carolina, William of Whitman, Mass., James of Texas, Elizabeth Bevins of Abington. His sister was Alice Schwartfeger. 14 grandchildren and 9 great-grandchildren. Now, in the case of one of the ones that I printed out for my aunt, okay, it's Mary Drusilla Cox, because here's her obituary. You can see the funeral home, and funeral homes can be a great help because they take a lot of information. And funeral homes generally keep their records like forever. And if funeral homes are put into the hands of another funeral home, generally those records go with them. I want to tell you a little story. It won't be too long. As you know, I watch Treasure Hunting with Jeebus. I consider them somewhat friends of mine. All the talking we've done over time. They bought a storage unit that belonged to a funeral home. Now, one of the things that was in it was a casket, which scared the bejeepers out of them, as you can imagine, because they didn't know if there was a decedent in the casket. I was relatively sure there wasn't. I thought maybe it was just a model casket. Not so much. But what they found was 3 file cabinets worth of records. What I would have done with those records is I would have looked to see the name of the funeral home, Googled it to see who now has it, or what funeral home is at that address now, or whatever, because that tells you who took over, and see if they want those records, because families do call funeral homes routinely for records, and funeral homes usually give them out for free. Some can be jerks and say, no, that's private or whatever the heck. I'm looking for my great aunt's record that died in, my great great aunt, like her, that died in 1982. What do you think I'm gonna find? It's like, huh. This is funny. In instead of immediately with an I, they spelled it immediately with an E. That's funny. It's an old obituary. So, here's Uncle Cecil. Great, great Uncle Cecil. Um, and I would have made sure that they got those records. For their records. And for the families. I don't know whether Jeebus and Amber threw them away or what happened to them, but it's a shame that they were left in a storage unit instead of given to the new company. Who knows if the new company even knew about the storage unit? Anyway, at the end, they finally wheeled the casket, because it was on one of those carts, out to, outside, because it was an outside unit. And they opened it. And you knew that there was something wrong with it from the beginning, because they do that thing where they show you a little bit of the end at the beginning but blurred out. And they both were like, oh my God. So you knew something was wrong. So when they opened it, it had bodily fluids in it. It was not pretty. It was like yellow and clear and blah. It had clearly been used for a no longer alive human being. So, okay, let's see what Uncle Cease has. U.S. Army, Fort Devens, Mass. We knew that. Okay, here's Great Uncle Bert. Um, oh, she died in 1966. Well, why the heck did that say 1982? Mr. Cox was retired from international paper after more than 50 years with the company. Yeah, his says Alfred of Uxbridge, because Al was living in Uxbridge by the time he died. Dr. Melvin Cox. And like I said, and you can even learn the address where they lived, because they generally put that, in the older ones. Today, you'd be lucky to get a street name. Usually, they just give you the town. He died Tuesday afternoon. And if you look, it's from the Lewiston Evening Journal, Friday, January 18th, 1929. So that tells you if he died on Tuesday, he died 3 days before. So he died on the 15th. This is very hard to read, but Melvin was the son of who? He was a great man and well liked. Oh no, he must have died Thursday, because he attended patients on Wednesday. was the last? No. Sheesh, I wish I could read it. Osteopath? Anyway, that's written terribly. Just the way it printed out. It didn't print out well because it wasn't the best printing. So yeah, I'm gonna have to actually try to get another copy of that. Here's his wife, Dr. Melvin Cox. Yeah, osteopath, was found dead by neighbors at her cottage Friday. Dr. George Pratt of Farmington County medical examiner said death was due to natural causes. She was only 71. Wow. That's actually sad. Ouch. She must have had a heart attack or something. Farmington something teacher. Yeah, she was supposed to be going to the teacher's college for an event. But didn't show up to meet her friends. She was staying at her cabin for the summer. And but she didn't meet up with her friends at their cabin to head off to the event. And they went and they found her. Ugh. Yep. Okay. So, those are the things that you can learn. Here's Eugene Cox. Okay, this is my great-great-grandfather. Born 1853 in Dixfield. He resided in this vicinity for many years. He is survived by his wife, Flora, 6 daughters. And they named them all. And one thing you'll notice with females is you might find in Dad's obituary they have one last name, and in Mom's obituary all of a sudden they have a different last name. That can be for several reasons. Maybe when Dad died they were still unmarried, they still had his name. Or they were married and they divorced sometime in between and remarried. I got a few of those, and I have some that literally the name changed every sibling that died around them. Their name was different because they got married 3 or 4 times, and it was like, okay, let's slow down here. And ew, this is turning my finger terrible colors, unfortunately. Can you see it? Yeah, I think you can. And it itches. I need to take it off. That's not good. I like the way this one is set up because this one came from Find a Grave. Leon Courier. Leon A. Courier. That is my aunt's dad. Ralph Cargill. He died of a seizure at the age of 62 at the airport in Texas. I didn't say a lot about him, like where he was born, who his parents were. I know who his parents were, but what a last name. Maiden name was Atomy, which means she was a Wilson's daughter. And her married name was Kizis, Kizis. She was married for over 65 years. Okay, her grandmother was a Wilson. Mrs. Hemingway died at 101. Of Layton Street, was a classmate of President Calvin Coolidge, died Monday at home, a native of Ludlow, Vermont. She and her husband, Rufus Hemingway, attended Ludlow Academy with the 29th president. Mrs. Hemingway was the first chairman of the first women's suffrage movement in New Britain. She also headed the Republicans for Calvin Coolidge here, the oldest member of the South Congregational Church, New Britain. This is New Britain, Connecticut. She leaves two nieces, Marion Ochampau, Ochampaugh, and Mrs. Rachel Perrault, both of Pittsfield, Mass. The funeral, Wednesday, 2 p.m., at her home. Burial will be Pleasant View Cemetery. When was this? Let's see. 1974. So her husband was Rufus. Now, they're Hemingways from Vermont, so I know they're related. But what I have to do is look up Rufus Hemingway. So I take my notebook, okay, right here, and I go Rufus N, because middle initials are important when looking people up, because it helps to narrow it down. Hemingway, born Ludlow, VT, probably died in New Britain, Britain, Connecticut. He married Marion Pryor. Prior. And if it was 65 years, she was 101 when she died in 1974, which means she was born in 1873. Holy crap. So, write that down in the book. I like this one because it has the little string to keep where you are. So you can just pull the ribbon and it takes you to where you are. I like that feature. So the next thing I'm going to do is actually look her up. This book weighs 10,000 pounds, I swear. Let me move you very gently because I don't want to knock you off there. So that I can put this, oh gosh, over here. So that I can look her up when I'm done with you. So that's my next step, is I'm going to look her up. When the food gets here, we'll make the last video. Again, it won't be too late. I left the tip at 10% because I thought $1.99 tip was too little for the driver. Oh, that's why it came out to, I was wondering why my credit card came out to $8.99, because it's the $5 plus the $3.99 for the tip. That's why. So anyway, I canceled the Fold 3, by the way, since we're talking about genealogy. So that will be canceled as of the 20th because it took it out late and it ended up putting me in the minus. So I put money in from my savings. Next month I've got to put money in my savings. I'm going to transfer money to my savings. I'm going to put it all in my, obviously it's all going into my checking because that's where it goes now. But I'm going to transfer money to my savings once I know exactly what I need. Once my bills are all paid and I see what's there, I'll transfer money into my savings. Because my savings is not good. Because I've had to transfer money because of mistakes I've made. So I freely admit it. My math is horrible. So and I will see if I'll be able to make either one of my orders this month. If I can't, I can't. I'm paying off that credit card bill first and foremost. So thank you so much for joining me. God bless you. Have a wonderful rest of your day. I will see you next time. Please subscribe to both channels and hit those bells. We're trying to get to 500 on the other channel and to 200 on this channel by Memorial Day. Thank you so much, guys. God bless you. Bye-bye.